Alright, good morning class. Today we're going to go over biotic and abiotic elements. Alright, so our curriculum connection, of course it's grade 7 science, our understanding life systems, interactions in the environment, and it'll be specific expectation 3.2. So I have a little video up for you guys. So while you're watching this video, look for, like, what are you seeing? Some animals, plants, water. If you think of anything else, so just kind of to get your mind working in the abiotic and biotic elements that we're going to be talking here.
A lot of plants, leaves, a lot of birds.
Yeah. See things interacting with other things.
Yep, definitely.
Birdies, fish.
Exactly. There's a lot of interactions with like the land, the sun, the animals as well. So we'll go back. Alrighty. So that was just a little video to get you thinking. So our agenda today, we'll go over our learning goals and success criteria. We'll talk about what we went over last class, and then we'll get into the biotic and abiotic elements, and then the interactions with those two things. Alrighty, so our learning goals today, by the end of the lesson, I'll be able to distinguish between the biotic and abiotic elements that are present within an ecosystem, and I'll be able to identify some of the interactions between abiotic and biotic elements. Success criteria, so you'll be able to show these learning goals by organizing a chart listing the elements of the ecosystem into abiotic and biotic categories, and you'll be also completing a worksheet or talking in your groups outlining what would happen to a plant given different abiotic elements present in the ecosystem. All right. So last class, we described the roles of producers, consumers, and decomposers within an ecosystem. So we're going to build on that a little bit, introducing some more elements to our ecosystem. So biotic elements. Biotic elements are the living parts of an ecosystem. So you can think of like an oak tree, moose, grasshopper. These are the living parts in the ecosystem, and they will interact with the with the abiotic elements in an ecosystem. So these are the physical but non-living features of an ecosystem. So you got things like sunlight, water, and the rocks in an ecosystem. All right. So we're going to do a little activity. So within your table groups, you have 60 seconds, and you have to come up with as many examples as you can think of for biotic and abiotic elements. So I suggest maybe creating a T-chart. You have abiotic and biotic on one side. Come up with as many as you can in 60 seconds. All right, have at it, guys.
Abiotic.
Okay. Specific ones or just general stuff?
It can be general, specific, whatever you want. Just get all your ideas out on the paper. About 20 more seconds, guys. All right, a couple more, and then we'll ask for some answers here.
Bacteria, fungus, plants, animals, stuff like that.
All right, guys, let's wrap it up now. So, can we have one of you guys kind of explain some of the things you found for abiotic elements?
Sure. So for abiotic, I put rocks, water, minerals, objects, wind, and then one I wasn't sure of, which was soil. I'm sure if that would be soil, biotic or abiotic.
That's a great one. That's always a kind of iffy part of the ecosystem. In the soil, there can be living organisms such as bacteria, bugs, all that kind of stuff. But the soil itself is an abiotic element, so you're correct in putting that in the abiotic section. How about the biotic?
For biotic, I had the plants and animals are the easy one, and then bacteria, fungus, and archaea.
Awesome, great job. All right, I have one question on one element that could also be considered one or the other. What do you think about a tree that has fallen over and has died? Would that be abiotic or biotic?
I think it's abiotic because it's no longer living.
And what about you, Josh?
I would say that it's still biotic because it still has organic matter in it, which can be decomposed by the fungus.
Okay, that's great to think that way. But Eric, you're right in saying that it's abiotic because it's no longer living. It has become part of the abiotic elements of the ecosystem. It does provide energy for biotic elements, but now that it has died, it's decomposing. It's now an abiotic part of the ecosystem. Great job, guys. All right, so we're going to talk about some interactions between both of these elements. So biotic and abiotic elements are constantly interacting with each other within the ecosystems. So abiotics can have huge impacts on growth and lives of biotic elements. So for example, we have a plant not receiving enough water, will not grow well, and could possibly die. Biotic elements can also have impacts on abiotic elements, and this is something we may not think of as much. For example, beavers, they can construct dams, which alters the flow of water within an ecosystem. So for our next little activity, so you have 2 minutes. I just want you to look over these questions here, discuss within your class, and then once we're done the 2 minutes, we're going to ask the groups what you think. So, as a group, hypothesize what would happen if an ecosystem did not receive enough rainfall. And these are some questions that get you thinking about what would happen within the ecosystem, tying into what we did last class with our consumers and producers, as well as decomposers. All right, guys, so you got 2 minutes to kind of talk it over and think about what would happen.
We do have less producers
Yeah.
because there's less water for the plants to grow with.
I think that would just follow through the chain, right? Less producers, less consumers,
Right.
less decomposers, all of them.
Right. Yeah, because the producers are ready to inject the energy into it. So.
Yeah, without the trouble.
All right, guys, about 10 more seconds.
Is there a producer that doesn't need water?
Well, there are producers that water is less important, I guess. I'd say.
All right, guys, so we'll wrap it up. So what did your group come up with? What do you think would happen if an ecosystem didn't receive enough rainfall?
We think that all the organisms will decrease in numbers, so producers will go down, there won't be as many producers, therefore less consumers, less decomposers, all the way across.
Awesome. Kind of similar.
Yeah, similar thing
answers?
here. It's without the water, there's not as many producers, so there's less energy in the ecosystem, so there's less opportunity for the consumers and the decomposers.
Oh, awesome. So what do you think? Just moving forward into our unit, what do you think if the ecosystem year over year didn't receive enough rainfall? I mean, this could happen in 1 year and there wouldn't be as much life. But what would happen year over year, say to a forest, if it didn't receive enough rainfall? You think maybe a couple questions for a couple answers for that?
I think that if it was to go long enough, that it would change the environment, like it would change the type of ecosystem. Instead of being a rainforest, it might become a desert.
Awesome. That's great thinking.
Yeah, sort of along the same lines that you might change a biome up.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Great thinking, guys. Alrighty. So a little wrap up here. So biotic elements, we talked about that. They're the living parts of an ecosystem. Abiotic elements, the physical, but they're not living. And they're in the ecosystem. And then both of these elements are constantly interacting with each other within the ecosystem. All right, guys, we'll see you next class. Have a great day.